Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
Rock and Review is so thrilled to bring you an artist that is a singer, songwriter, author, actor. Oh, and he's also president and chairman of the board for ASCAP. Paul Williams. Thanks for coming on the Rock and Review, Paul.
It's great to be with you this morning, Eric. Thank you.
You know, you've had such a storied career, and we were talking about this before we started the interview. But, you know, I knew you from so much of your music and seeing you on shows like Johnny Carson, which was always a treat. Anytime you were on any program, the humor you brought to it, from wearing a Planet of the Apes outfit to bursting out in song. But I mean, you know, it's amazing to me to where you started out on the path of an actor, then went to songwriter, and then back to acting and everything else in between. How did this work out for you, Paul?
It worked out really good as long as I wasn't controlling it. You know, it's really interesting. When you give up control, you know, when you learn to say, you know, lead me where you need me, your life begins to take some change. And, you know, that's really the truth. I think the best years of my life have been my years of, you know, now 30 years sobriety. And at a point when I was 49 when I got sober, I always joke I didn't have the best childhood, but I had the longest. You mentioned that Carson, I know 49 Carsons, and I think I remember 6. It's the fact, you know, but you know what? It's interesting because and we talked about this a little bit before we went, you know, started recording. But the fact is that for me, again, no is a gift. I mean, when I don't get something, I think I need this, and I want it, and I deserve this. You know, I start lining up like, okay, this is it. This is gonna put me on top, whatever, that kind of thinking, and it goes away. I've gotten to the point now when it goes away, I go, oh my God, what's coming? Because the best things that have landed in my lap have not been my idea. They've been the Big Amigos plan, and but specifically to Nashville, you know, I was probably 6 years sober, maybe more, and totally separated from the music business. Because when I got sober, the career I thought I had been going about 10 years. But in I think in like 96 or 97, I was cast in a movie shooting in New Zealand called The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox, and this is, you know, big picture, good part, you know, playing this evil creature. It was great. I was gonna put me back on top, and they really wanted John Austin to play the role. And is that his name, John Austin? Anyway, the actor that they wanted, they finally got. So they called me and said, incidentally, that, you know, would you send back that plane ticket because you're not going to go to New Zealand after all. And I had been sober long enough that I went, what's coming? What is coming that's gonna be better for me, maybe better for the world, you know? And the next day I got a phone call from NSAI. And they said, you know, we have this thing called Tin Pan South. Would you be willing to come to Nashville? I said, is there a plaque involved? They said, yes. I said, I'm there. You know, so there's a plaque there. And I came down and did a thing at the Ryman. And there's something in the water. And I had been I hadn't been writing. I'd written like one thing in the Muppet Christmas Carol. I wrote words and music to right after I got sober. But I thought, you know what? If I ever fall in love with it again, I'm going to return to writing. And boy, there's something in the water in Nashville, because I just, you know, all of a sudden I'm looking around, I'm listening to great songs. And there's nothing like hearing somebody else's great song, just, you know, snap your little ego and go, you know what are you doing with your life? You know, come on. You know, you know, dance for the one that brung you. So I started going to Nashville regularly and met a guy named John Vesner down there, and John and I wrote a song that, just like that, 3 years after we wrote it, was recorded by Diamond Rio, and it was my first sober hit record. You know, You're Gone. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. So long way to say that when the more I give up control, you know, the more active the ride seems to be towards the right place for me.
Well, you know, and I always knew you for your music. Once again, growing up with you and listening to so many of your songs, but I mean, your body of work, I mean, you had songs recorded by, you know, Elvis, Sinatra, you know, Tony Bennett, Three Dog Night, The Carpenters, and Kermit the Frog.
And Kermit, yeah, the Muppets they're like, and I have felt in my DNA, I guess, I don't know, It's just, I don't know if it was a size thing or what, but Kermit and I just hit it off right away. Piggy really didn't want me around that much, but Kermit was cool, and Gonzo is my brother. So, you know, when you get up in the morning and you know you're going to go to work with Jim Henson, there's something in that. You mean your life just doesn't get, I don't think, any better than that. Any better than that, you know.
You know, and Jim was such a genius. I knew you guys worked together so much, and I think, you know, you're always going to be remembered too for, you know, A Star Is Born, working with Barbra Streisand, and you know, and you've won so many awards. I mean, I know you're so humble about it, but I mean, you know, you've got Grammys, Golden Globe, you know, it's like all these awards, but A Star Is Born, that still holds up, Paul.
You know, it's, you know, winning a Grammy is hard. Winning an Oscar is hard. Working it into every conversation is almost impossible. At a certain point, you know what? You know, you drive a Plymouth? I knew a guy that drove a Plymouth. He was a lighting technician on Stars Born. You know, I was working with Christopherson. Yeah, there was a lot of that for a lot of years, and you know, and it was a high point in the career to write a bunch of songs. To write a bunch of songs that Chris Christopherson was going to sing. It's just, excuse me, you know, Sunday morning coming, putting on my cleanest dirty shirt, he's going to sing "Watch Closely Now." I'm like, it's one of those moments where you kind of just want to pinch yourself, you know. And I mean, he just had a birthday, you know. I think he's maybe a year ahead of a couple years ahead of me, I think. But yeah, we're starting to, you know, the odometer is beginning to look terrifying. It's like, whoa, geez.
Well, I got to bring this up too, Paul, to where, you know, your book that came out, you know, years ago. But I mean, what an incredible book, and also a testament to taking away the stigma from alcoholism and those issues. And you've done that so much with song and with the book.
Well, you know, my friend Tracy Jackson and I wrote, and she heard me speak at a screening of Still Alive, the documentary that was done about, you know, and the fact that I'm still alive is a miracle based on the way I lived, you know, the first 49 years. But Tracy and I had met early on when she was about 22. She's a wonderful screenwriter. She wrote, you know, the Shopaholic, and, you know, at any rate, we met in Robert Mitchum's bedroom. You know, she walked in. I was neighbors with Robert Mitchum and tried to keep up with him, which put me in rehab twice. But she walked in and said, you know, I'm a huge fan of your music, and I was loaded and said something really rude that I won't repeat on the air. But she kind of went, "Oh, it's so much for meeting your heroes," spun on her heels and walked out a big Neil Diamond fan. Is the basic the story. But when we met a second time, it was at Feinstein's in New York, and I was performing there with Jimmy Webb, who's been on this show with you. You know, Jimmy. Yeah, I mean, Maestro. He's been, what a buddy, and also on the ASCAP board. But Jimmy and I were performing at Feinstein's, and Tracy came to see the show, and and I was 10 years sober, and she said it's like different, you know, meeting basically a different person, you know. So she came to a couple nights later. She came or a couple of years later, she came to the screening of Still Alive. And at the end of the screening, when I was speaking to the audience, I said, basically, look, my choo-choo runs on the twin rails of gratitude and trust. And she said, there's a book there. She said, she's all of you people, you know, in that recovering community and that organization that I do not mention in public, you know, but you'll find us at the beginning of the phone book. If you got a problem and you're looking for us, we're easy to find. But, you know, she said, all of you people that belong to that organization and work those steps and all, you know, I see your lives change. Why don't the rest of us have something like that? Mm-hmm. And she said, you know, is it possible to write something? So we wrote a book that was originally titled "Recovery Is Not Just for Addicts." And of course, the book publisher said, if you put addicts in the title and nobody's grandma will buy the book for them, you know. So with that new target on the horizon of actually selling books and hopefully doing some good. And it was wonderful to see the book. The big change for the book, the big kickoff for the book was that we did Super Soul Sunday with Oprah the day the book was released. And when Oprah holds up your book and says, "This is a great Christmas present or a Hanukkah gift," or whatever, you kind of go, I mean, I just wanted to crawl into her lap and have a good cry. I was so happy. Yeah. Me and Oprah are together again for the first time.
Well, it's so incredible, Paul. And I wanted to bring up to you, you mentioned, the documentary, Paul Williams, Still Alive. And what a great, representation of your life and everything. But I got to say, too, the song that you wrote to open it is it's an autobiographical song.
Yeah, I think you're the first person that ever mentioned this song to me. You are now in the will. It's like, wow. It's interesting because Steve Kessler, who did the documentary, said to me, he said, would you write a song? And it's basically me. It's a documentary where I get to sit and look me and my absolute worst behavior for about an hour and 5 minutes or something, with some talk about recovery at the end. And I said, "What are you going to call it?" And he said, "Still Alive, Paul Williams, Still Alive." And I went, "Oh, don't call, oh my God, there's a couple people that remember me. It's like, don't call it Still Alive." And then I started thinking about it. And I started thinking about the fact that it says a lot, is that I'm still alive, and why am I still alive, Right. So to be able to write a song with the approach that what would I sing to myself? I don't know you in those clothes. I don't know you with that hair. Two-dimensional reflection, unforgiving, unaware. Part-time dreamer, would-be player. You thought fame could outrun fear. Oh, that's not a piece of my life right there. You thought fame could outrun fear. Something clearly terrified you. Did you choose to disappear? I'm so thrilled to hear you say that. Thank you. I was really pleased with that opportunity to talk about the fact that I am still alive. And in the bridge of the song, it says, "Someone asked me once, where do we go when we arrive? If you're lucky, when it's over, the dreamer's still alive. A blessed mystery, for sweeter souls did not survive." And there is a long list of sweeter souls I knew that did not survive addiction. So once again, it takes you back to gratitude.
Well, and the song hit me in the heart just with your vocals and the guitar underneath. And it's like, I think we can all relate to it. And that's why I just had to bring it up. It's such a powerful song.
You know who that guitarist is? It's Lawrence Juber, who was the guitarist from Wings, and
yeah.
Just amazing, talented musician and songwriter.
Oh, incredible. Well, speaking of which, you're so well known for so many things. And I read a piece to where you said, well, when I die, I'm going to be known for being in the Smokey and the Bandit movies and also for writing the theme to the Love Boat. But I have to bring up your recent work to where the past few years you've been in Goliath with Billy Bob Thornton.
Isn't that amazing? Again, the big amigo has a sense of humor. You want back on television, let's put you in a show called Goliath. It's like acting lessons, and I did 2 seasons of it. They're not back yet because nobody's shooting anything right now and all, but I don't know if I'll wind up back there for another season or not. But I have to tell you, the most remarkable authenticity I've ever experienced with another actor is the time of working with Billy Bob. He's just it's interesting because I wear hearing aids, and I especially towards the end of the day, I get a certain audio overload, and I get to the point where I can't hear. And so I'm watching the show a lot of the times while we're shooting the scene, and sometimes we say what's on the page, and a lot of times we don't. A lot of he'll just lead you into the conversation, and there was a classic scene where probably my favorite scene I ever shot for the thing that I wake him up in the middle of, I don't know, have you ever seen the show? You watch
Yes.
it? So I walk in and he's got this breathing thing on it, and I walk in and I smack his feet. I go, I could have cut your throat and everything. What's wrong? What's the matter with you? That front door wouldn't, the lock on that door wouldn't keep a monkey with a monkey with a credit card could get in that front door. And he said, one just did, only I didn't hear it at all. I didn't hear it. I walk right through it, did not even, if I'd heard it, I would have cracked it up and ruined the scene, but then I'm watching it and I go, oh my God, that's hilarious. And he just, he speaks very softly. It's also interesting to be with somebody where you just, it's so contained. Boy, you get
Right.
put that on camera, and he just, it's as real as you're going to get.
It's just amazing. I hope it comes back. But, I wanted to bring up too, with everything you have going, with your music, being in hit TV shows, are you thinking about, are you working on some new music, maybe a new book? What do you guys
music, music for sure. I finished a music based on Pan's Labyrinth with Guillermo del Toro and Gustavo Santaolalla, which is as soon as Guillermo will pick a director, and when theaters open up again, hopefully we'll see that. But right now I'm working on another musical but I've been writing a bunch with Portugal the Man. I love Portugal the Man. John Gorley and all those guys are just fantastic. And I will, if the phone rings, most of the time I'll just say yes, because there's so much to learn. To be at my age and to be at this place in my life, and to have have it all feel like it. There's so much of it ahead of me. It's just is a tribute to the people I've been able to work with. And the last 10 years at ASCAP, I actually have been on the board since 2001, but the last 10 years with as sitting in the chair, in that great big chair, surrounded by people that are just totally dedicated to music creators' rights, and the 12 publishers and 11 other writers that I work with, and it's something that I couldn't have imagined. It's like an adult job. Will require a grown-up, Mr. Williams. I've only done that as a tourist before. Wait a minute. But it's just, it's an amazing opportunity.
And this comes from a man that has had impact on music, books, film, TV, and now ASCAP. And I got to thank you. Paul Williams, thank you so much for coming on the Rock Interview and sharing with us, and can't wait to see more of the creative projects that you'll have rolling out in the near future.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And it took us a while to get here, but I'm really glad I came. Thanks so much for the kindness.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.